Greetings and welcome. My name is Michael Miller. This is a Michael Miller trademark training video out to you because you're watching. Thank you and welcome. It's meant for Michael Miller Pilates licensed affiliates, the Core New Core, licensed presenters, my patrons, and anyone interested in surviving and thriving as a Pilates instructor or student. 4 things on my list today, and before that, mention of I sent an email yesterday or this morning to announce that I can send you the Michael Miller Pilates Reformer picture book to a FedEx near you. Of course, you have to tell me what FedEx you want it sent to. I'll get an estimate of them for the cost to give you a price to see if you want it or not. See what I'm saying? So if you want your own MMP, it's first time ever. It's on good paper, 32-pound paper that I have I've seen a sample of, and good for 2-sided printing. It's about 107 pages. Exercises, I think I have that in my mind. It's over 100 exercises. Each exercise has 3 or 4 pictures, sometimes many more, because of the complexity of the performance of the exercise. Right? So that's available. If you're interested, get in touch. Number 1 is a comment about posture, because a fellow teacher of mine put up a wonderful video talking about posture, and he was reaching across languages to do it, and did a wonderful job of it, and the subject was posture. And a video or information, knowledge, understanding directing an individual to the most basic of things in how you help improve your posture. And in specific, I think is what I'm saying, more in general, or just not too detailed. From me to you, what I want you to know is that core new tension exists. Flat out, it's a real thing. And the body, over millions of years, has the capability and does engage in oppositional rotation between axes. Now, I'm sorry there's not somebody more important to point that out to you, or a better messenger. But really, the messenger, are you willing to look at the message? And are you willing to find confirmation of the idea within your own sensation, which will in turn strengthen your intellectualization of what it is you're sensing? The wave is coming toward the experience. So, another thing from social media is seeing a fellow teacher out on the web doing the teaser on the long box, on the reformer, which is how it's normally done on the long box, but doing the teaser on the reformer with risers in the back, which means the pulleys at the end of the reformer that come up and make the strap go like this instead of the strap go like this. Follow me? a different angle on the strap. And I hopefully was positive and I liked what was there. And I suggested next time to lower the pulleys, to change the angle of the rope or the strap to where the pulley is in line with the carriage, and then from in line with the carriage goes up to teaser at the end of your hands. Depending on your equipment and where you sit on the short box, there's a range in there where the parallel that you want in arms and legs and teaser, where both limbs are reaching out that way from their axes, because hips to shoulders to ears is the line off of which the teaser is parallel arms and legs. I said all of that. Where was I going with it? Depending upon where the strap is, you're either at a different angle or a different endpoint, really, of a different point of rotation than having the pulley just come from what's horizontal to your body and out from there. Not your body, I guess, because you're up on the long box, but what's parallel to the platform. In line with the platform, even. Where you put the pulleys, on the risers. Know why that seems just to be the way equipment comes? Because it didn't have risers, and leg circles can't be done in a full range with risers in line with the carriage. Less range, I should say, full range, whatever. But the risers go up to allow all this leg circle stuff, supine on the reformer. But then they stay up and they distort the tension and therefore the energy in the exercise. And again, all I'm doing is trying to point into the cave of your own sensation, and when you really get into the teaser and the tension on the strap is in line with where your arms belong because of where your legs are. See what I'm saying? When it's connected, and when it's a straight line from the arms back to the pulley, it's physics. And to me, it's sensational. You can feel the difference. So that's my comment about risers. Know why they're up to make leg circles happen, and know that they get left there, and then really distort some of the exercises and the tension that you do seek to embrace when they're low. The pulleys on the risers. So my number 3 is an admonition. It's stop playing around. That's the title. Stop playing around. You guys, you girls, stop playing around, right? You kids, stop playing around. Easily one of the names I felt was mine, though I never felt that I wasn't by name, used by name by my parents. I also heavily identified with the name You Kids, because there were 4 of us, and a lot of times what came out was directed all 4 of us at once. Like, stop playing around. So what does this mean? My notes under stop playing around start with representation matters. I guess we're talking about Pilates and how you represent Pilates, right? Representation matters. Why would that be? Well, from the MMP point of view, because Pilates has an essence of its own, and in your representation of Pilates, and whatever you make of it, it matters to the extent that it either is or isn't See, it all depends on if you think Pilates has an essence of its own. And then you can believe that and say that it's unknowable and unreachable, and it can only be, it's a tradition that's undefined other than through word of mouth and folklore. Word of mouth, which is folklore. It's knowledge handed down from one generation to the next. MMP is a theory. A theory is an explanation, and in this case, an explanation of what makes Pilates what it is. In the belief that, or it's a theory that Pilates has an essence of its own, and that you can arrive at that essence out of Joe's own words in his book, Return to Life Through Contrology. So, in social media, I see someone that makes an absolute statement about, it's about flexion, extension, and then rotation. It leaves out the second pattern in the progressive pattern of movement. Side bending, right? The lateral plane. And so people, in reading that, see, that's where I'm saying stop playing around. Representation matters. And then, okay. Represent and speak the language as well as you can. Recognize that trying to speak the language is what the effort is, as well as you can, is what the effort is all about. As far as a teacher and the pursuit of doing it, but to me there's more than playing around with Pilates however you wish. It's more serious than that within the MMP point of view, because you're after ideal effort. You're after progressive patterns of movement, and those patterns are planes, and you devote and dive into your focus on the purpose of the exercise. And flexion and extension is the primary plane, because we learn how to move from A to B through controlling that effort. Movement in that plane. We have eyes and nose and mouth and ears that point forward. All of our senses, let's think amygdala and hippocampus, and our skin, of course, feed into what's going on prefrontal cortex. Is the MMP point of view. So, my number 4 title is Stop Shortchanging Side Bend, meaning the lateral plane. Because in doing so, and mostly, for instance, on side overs, on short box, the side over is paid some homage to, and then it immediately goes into twist because it's so fluid into that. My recommendation in pursuit of the ideal is not to shortchange side bend. Don't mix it into the rotation. At least do enough of the side bend that it, in and of itself, is the objective and can have the same kind of focus as you seek to control flexion extension. And see, you're determining the control of the planes that you can move within. And the more precisely you can control your movement within the physics of space, meaning a plane is something that's ideal in nature. It's ideal. 3D space, flexion, extension, and side bending. Don't shortchange side bending, because it undermines the foundation that you're making for your twist. My notes say you blend the two of them, like side bending and rotation. You diminish both. Give both their due before you go off into something else. And perhaps make a purer engagement of rotation by not having it be attached to the side bending. How would that be, right? The more purely you dive into your effort to perform the exercises, there will always be the court, like the court with royalty in the olden times, where everybody schmoozed among the royalty, seeking power and privilege and whatever else. A real snake pit comes to mind. And within that snake pit, you can encounter a lot of pretense in attitude and presumption and sanctimoniousness and judgmentality and harshness, right? That pretense is based on a presumption of make-believe authority. And in this case, the make-believe authority is authority that's coming out of word of mouth and the folklore that Pilates exists in, and presuming that authority is superior. And so the attitude of being superior in taking incoming from people with judgmental attitudes. They're just trying to reinforce somebody else's presumption of their authority. And insecurely do it in a rude and provocative way that can become an emoji to interact from. In MMP starts with reality. Well, actually, no, MMP starts with the experience and wanting to understand the experience. And in seeking to understand the experience, core new tension became apparent. So that's the one big thing that you take away from me in this conversation, is a knowledge of core new tension. It's much bigger than you think. In my opinion, it's a pretty big mountain of understanding that core new tension is the way the body engages itself to move through space. It's biomechanical. It's the biology accomplishing the physics. And the physics is this creation of tension between rotational dynamics in the body. And it's not just like a scroll. It's not just like a scroll, hips and shoulders. It's not the way it works. It's just the other way around. And it's the way the body has evolved and is connected is through core new tension. And in increasing the grip, what happens? You get length between the two axes. They press each other apart in the act of the grip itself. Why does that matter? Because everything's about gravity. Always come back to gravity. If you wonder who you are in terms of what you're doing as a Pilates student or as a Pilates instructor, we are in the jungle trying to survive gravity. Because to be able to run like this, you have to be able to get your body from one place to another. And I'm here to tell you, nobody's listening, but I here to tell anybody that's listening that core new tension is the way the body engages itself to move through space. This is not an artificial thing. This is engaging in the nature of the biomechanics that we have evolved into the capability of. So the one thing, CT, the big mountain, is about biomechanics. It's the name of CT is core new tension. The second thing is MMP, the other big mountain, because it's an identification. It's a point of view of Pilates that's different than looking at Pilates through the eyes of folklore. Instead, theorizing that you can explain Pilates having an essence of its own just based on what comes out of Joe's book. Now that may be threatening to people that have other things to teach you, but if you're looking for, if you're looking for Pilates, MMP is very simple to get, and then whatever else you want to make out of Pilates will become how you make it your own and create with it. But you'll at least be walking around with the knowledge that Pilates can be explained, and to the extent you can understand the explanation, you can make use of it as a student or an instructor. You know, so much of Pilates never got beyond the stage of cosmetics, where Pilates is something that you apply as cosmetics to yourself and whatever else you're doing. Right? there will always be a small core of people whose passion and minds drive them toward understanding things to a point where they're satisfied with what they understand. And in some cases that goes beyond what's conventional and contemporary and common knowledge. Pilates is serious business. It's about surviving. It's a language that we pursue to survive. And to the degree that we speak it articulately, the words, well, you know, I do Pilates, but it's just a matter of how serious you want to take it. And that's totally true. That's totally true. And so my message to you is that you may find this knowledge of CT and MMP helpful to you to survive as a student and instructor of Pilates. Life can't live forever. Read between the lines. See behind the curtain and show others behind the curtain. Connect the dots. Connect the dots. Money talks and BS walks, right? And especially when you have something of value. When you have knowledge of value, make offers to make a presentation that explains CT and MMP for pick a number, this much money, for this much time, like how right from then on, right, paid in advance, get paid, and then be able to just go around the carousel and develop a familiarity with CT and MMP. You can go to the level of explaining what the subject, what the letters stand for. One's biomechanics, the other's a view of Pilates. Well, that can screen out everybody and anybody that feels like they're not interested, biomechanics, or Pilates, which they had more than enough of that already. How you stand there is your billboard. So I'm exiting, evaluating 2 and 2. Connect the dots before that, then add 2 and 2. Know how to make an offer to explain CT and MMP, because it's just so far beyond or out there or different that if you try to relate it as something that just is part of whatever else is out there, I suggest you undermine your ability to take your student as far as you can to pick them up in the valley and then run a gondola ride up to look around. If you just say, well, the gondola ride is you standing on the hood of your car and you're going to say what you see, it doesn't accurately, I don't think, represent the perspective of the difference in point of view. So by saying it's a big leap in point of view, or it's somewhere that takes you somewhere where you see something that stands out more than what you would see if you're just standing on the hood of your car. Add 2 and 2. You think it's going to be easy to survive as a Pilates instructor when the whole world is already awash in Pilates? Now, maybe that's not true in terms of the number of people doing Pilates and the number of people in the world. But Pilates is never going to occupy a huge part of that pie. Direct your thinking. Come watch the Facebook side of this. And Geist.